Discover the incredible, life-changing love story of a wealthy farmer and a young widow, rejected. In the heart of a small Midwestern town where the fields of corn swayed like waves in an emerald sea, Jeremy was a beacon of hope and kindness. A farmer in his late 30s, he was known for his generosity, always lending a hand or a warm smile to those around him. The town's annual celebrations felt barren without his laughter echoing through the church hall or his presence at community gatherings. But life was about to change drastically when Sarah moved in next door, a widow, fiercely independent, yet barely holding on. At just 28, she carried the weight of two little souls and their heavy silence after losing her husband too soon in a tragic car accident. On a fateful Sunday, the local church was alive with colored banners and the comforting aroma of baked pies. But just as the townsfolk chattered about the upcoming harvest festival, storm clouds rolled in, darkening the sky. The winds howled, and the rain came down in sheets that lashed against the wooden church, disturbing the serenity that had reigned just moments before. No one was prepared for the destruction that followed. When the storm finally passed, the beauty of the fields lay in tatters, and the town was left grappling with chaos. In a daze, Jeremy emerged from his home, his heart racing. The devastation was immense. Trees had fallen, homes were damaged, and crops lay flattened, just like the spirits of the townsfolk. But amid the turmoil, Jeremy's determination flared. He rallied his neighbors, organizing cleanup crews, handing out tools, and spreading hope like seeds ready to bloom. In those moments, Sarah observed him from her window, her heart clenching as she witnessed his unparalleled devotion to others. Could he really understand her struggles? Her pride held her back from accepting any charity. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Spring turned to summer, and as laughter filled the air with the preparations for the harvest festival, a bond began to form between Jeremy and Sarah. Yet her internal battle raged. Should she guard her heart, or dare to open it again? Gossip buzzed around town, stinging her like bees. She was a widow, struggling, while he was well off and revered. Was it worth risking everything for a chance at love? At the festival, the atmosphere was electric, a kaleidoscope of colors, laughter, and sweet aromas. Jeremy, standing amongst the crowd, felt the weight of expectation. He took a deep breath, his future with Sarah hanging in the balance. As he spoke to the crowd about love transcending barriers, their eyes met. For a moment, hope flickered. But fear gripped Sarah once more. How could she put her children at risk for love? Just then, whispers swept through the crowd, tainted with skepticism. Would that chasm ever close? As Jeremy's voice rang out, all questions felt suspended in that fleeting moment, each breath magnifying the stakes. Would Sarah take that leap of faith, or would she let doubt steal away the potential for happiness, leaving both them and the town forever changed? As the jovial spirit of the harvest festival pulsated through the town, Sarah found herself at a crossroads of longing and fear. The laughter around her felt soothing, yet cruel, reminding her of the joy she once knew. Watching Jeremy speak so genuinely, a part of her wanted to be brave and reach out, but the other part recoiled, haunted by what she had lost. She felt small among the brightness of the festival, the smiles and cheers making her heart ache with more than just nostalgia. The children tugged at her skirt, pulling her back into their world of innocence. "Mommy, can we play games?" they pleaded, their eyes wide with excitement. Sarah knelt, enveloping them in her arms, desperate to find strength in their joy while battling her fears. "Of course, sweetheart," she replied, forcing a smile as she swallowed back the swell of emotions threatening to unpack her heart. They darted off, oblivious to their mother's turmoil, while she stood frozen, torn between stepping into a new life and retreating to the safety of her solitude. Before she could gather her thoughts, Jeremy walked toward her, his brown shirt contrasting sharply with the brilliant autumn hues around them. "Sarah," I've been looking for you." His voice rumbled like a comforting wave breaking on the shore, deep and soothing. He took a step closer, and time seemed to slow. The whispers faded as only the two of them remained within this bubble of charged connection. Hi, Jeremy," she stammered, her heart racing. She could see concern in his eyes, mixed with a flicker of hope. "I know it's all chaotic, but it's beautiful too," he continued, glancing toward the enchanting decorations and laughter. "Everyone is so happy to be together." "Yeah," she replied, nodding apprehensively. "It's nice." "Sorry for interrupting your moment with the kids," he said, glancing in their direction. "But I wanted to ask if you'd join us later for the hayride." A hayride. The thoughts of sunshine, laughter, and the touch of warmth in the crisp autumn air pulled at her heart. Yet, could she really do it? A living reminder of her husband had engraved itself in her soul, and now the vibrant colors of love felt like an ache, not a promise. "I don't think," she started, guilt gnawing at her insides as she imagined their faces questioning why their mother couldn't embrace new happiness. But Jeremy cut her off gently. "Just think about it, okay? You and your wonderful kids deserve to enjoy today like everyone else." His words hung in the air, so full of warmth and understanding that tears pricked at Sarah's eyes. The tenderness was foreign, yet achingly familiar. The sincerity in his expression blurred the thoughts swirling in her mind. She wrestled with her emotions, the fear and anxiety wrestling against that ember of vulnerability ignited by his kindness. "Okay, I'll think about it," she managed, her voice trembling slightly. "But I can't promise anything." "No pressure," Jeremy said, his smile a soothing balm to her restless spirit. As he turned and walked away, the gravity of his words lingered. Would she step out of her shadowed past and into the warmth of love? The tempting thought flickered but was quickly snuffed by the fear that still held her hostage. The day drifted on, filled with laughter and colors that felt vibrant yet painfully distant. Thoughts about the hayride simmered in her mind. Should she risk her heart for the pursuit of happiness? That night, as the stars twinkled like promises above, Sarah stood by her window, her heart a whirlwind of emotions. Outside, she could still hear the distant echoes of laughter, calling to her as the faint warmth of Jeremy's voice wound around her heart. What was stopping her? Did she really want to be alone forever? Just then, she caught a glimpse of Jeremy and the townspeople gathering by the bonfire, shadows dancing across their faces. Taking a deep breath, Sarah closed her eyes, wrestling with butterflies that flitted anxiously in her stomach. Could love really be within reach once more? Through the rustling leaves, a question began to form. A question that could change everything. What if she took him up on that hayride after all? Sarah stood by her window, the cool evening air dancing around her like a gentle sigh, nudging her thoughts in all directions. The distant sound of laughter and chatter floated up from the festival, a melody she once cherished. Now it sounded like a siren call, urging her to make a choice, to step outside or remain safely cocooned within her own fears. With a sudden resolve, she turned away from the window, her reflection catching the soft glow of the moon. She imagined the warm embrace of a hayride, the gentle sway beneath her as they rolled through the golden fields, laughter bubbling around her. Could she really let those moments of joy wash over her again? Sarah moved about the house, checking on the children as they settled into bed, exhausted from the day's excitement. She paused to kiss each of them good night, feeling a rush of love. Their dreams were bright and endless, while hers felt like shadows creeping back in. But the thought of Jeremy lingered. His smile, warm and genuine, invited possibility where she thought none could exist. "Mom," Rosie, her youngest, murmured sleepily, "can we go on the hayride tomorrow?" Sarah's heart tightened at the innocent request. "Maybe," she replied softly, her voice barely above a whisper. All at once she felt the weight of her children's hopes resting on her shoulders. They needed her to be present, to embrace the joy that life still offered. The next hour was a blur. Sarah paced through the dimly lit rooms, her heart warping between fear and an ever-burgeoning hope. Just then, the doorbell rang, shattering the quiet of the night. Clutching her heart, She opened the door to find Jeremy, with his hands shoved casually into his pockets and a laid-back grin stretching across his face. "Hey, just wanted to see how you were doing. I know tonight has been heavy with memories." "Jeremy," she said, the surprise evident in her voice. "What are you doing here?" "I couldn't shake the feeling that you might need someone to talk to, in case you want to, about the hayride." His demeanor was so relaxed, yet she could see the earnestness behind his gaze. "Right," was all she managed. The flickering emotion in the air hung around them like autumn leaves swirling in a gentle breeze. "Listen, Sarah," he began, his tone shifting. "No one expects anything from you. This is your journey, and I just want to be here, if you let me." As he spoke, Sarah felt her heart race. The vulnerability in his words unraveled a thread in her resolve, and she recognized the depth of his sincerity. In that moment, the walls around her heart trembled, craving connection. "Why do you want to help me?" she asked, feeling a mix of gratitude and confusion. "Because I see you, Sarah," he replied, stepping a bit closer. "I see the strength you carry even when you don't realize it. More importantly, I see how much warmth you bring to your kids. You deserve to live fully." His words struck like lightning in her heart. "I'm scared," she admitted, vulnerability spilling out like a free-flowing river. "What if I try and it hurts? What if I can't do this?" "Every step is a risk," Jeremy replied, his voice soft yet firm. "But there's also a chance for joy, maybe even healing." His steadfast gaze met hers, and all at once, the weight of her past felt lighter. Perhaps in this moment, she could choose to believe in whatever was being offered. "Okay," she breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "Let's do the hayride." Jeremy's smile lit up the night, as if the stars themselves applauded her decision. There it was, a hint of hope flickering back to life within her. But just as excitement began to fill her, a flicker of doubt emerged. What if she opened her heart and discovered it too fragile to handle? Tomorrow loomed like a threshold, and Sarah felt the depth of her choices heavier on her heart than ever before. Could she truly embrace the uncertainty that came with new beginnings? The morning sun crept through the curtains, casting a golden hue across Sarah's bedroom. A new day had arrived, and with it, a mixture of excitement and trepidation. She could hear the soft sounds of her children stirring, their laughter bubbling like the sunlight that bathed the room. For a moment Sarah allowed herself to linger in the warmth of those sounds, but the reality of her decision gnawed at her. The hayride was only hours away, and anticipation wrestled with anxiety. She slipped out of bed and moved to the kitchen, where the aroma of coffee filled the air. The familiar scent grounded her somewhat, a reminder of simpler mornings and routines she still cherished. As she poured herself a cup, a soft footfall sounded behind her. It was Rosie, eyes still half closed but already brimming with excitement. "Mom, is it time to go?" Rosie asked, clasping her hands together. Her innocence was a light that pushed back Sarah's shadows. "Soon, sweetheart. We have some time, okay?" Sarah said, her heart swelling at the sight of her daughter's enthusiasm. "Can I wear my new sweater?" Rosie inquired, bouncing on her toes. "Absolutely. It's perfect for a chilly hayride," Sarah replied, offering a warm smile. Moments later, her other children joined them, and the kitchen buzzed with laughter and playful banter. Despite the busyness, Sarah felt an unfamiliar flutter in her chest, a flicker of joy that fought against the weight of her anxiety. She was scared but was determined to step into this day with an open heart. The sun climbed higher, and soon they were dressed, each child wearing clothes they had chosen proudly. As they stepped outside, the excitement of the festival enveloped them, bright decorations, vendors laughing, and the enticing scent of caramel apples drifting through the air. Sarah's heart raced. "Look, Mom, there's the wagon!" Her oldest son, Jake, exclaimed, pointing toward a colorful wagon filled with hay. "Let's join the line," Rosie cheered, pulling her siblings toward the eager crowd. Sarah felt the pull of their energy, a gravity she hadn't anticipated. As they approached the wagon, Jeremy appeared, stepping from the side of the crowd. He was carrying a large box of warm donuts, his presence immediately bringing her a sense of calm. "Thought you might need some fuel for the ride," he said, handing a donut to each child, their faces lighting up in delight. The sight made Sarah smile, and for a moment, the heaviness in her heart lifted. "Thanks, Jeremy. This was so thoughtful," she said, feeling a warmth spread through her. They climbed onto the hayride, Jeremy sitting beside Sarah, their legs brushing together. As the wagon bounced to life, she felt her heart race again, but this time from a mix of fear and something gentler. "Are you okay?" Jeremy asked, glancing sideways at her, his hazel eyes filled with concern. "I think so. Just nervous," she admitted, her voice barely above the rumble of laughter around them. "Just focus on the kids," he encouraged, his own tension easing. "They're the key to enjoying this." As the wagon rolled through the rows of golden corn and fields of sunflowers, Sarah let herself smile fully, her children laughing and pointing at everything in wonder. For the first time in a long while, she felt light. Maybe this was what healing looked like, allowing joy to seep through the cracks of her hurt. But just as she began to embrace this new reality, the memories of her past crashed in, dark and looming. What if this happiness was fleeting? What if she had opened herself only to shatter again? With the autumn breeze brushing against her face, a question lingered in the back of her mind. Was she truly ready to embrace the hope that Jeremy had inspired? As she gazed at the horizon, where sun and sky met, she understood the stakes of her heart. Holding on to joy came with the risk of further pain. But then again, could she really experience life if she stayed locked away? When the wagon came to a stop, she took a deep breath. The real journey, it seemed, had only just begun. But what would it mean for her to fully step into this uncertainty? As the wagon jolted to a halt, the world around Sarah exploded into a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds. Children leaped off the hayride as if they were set free from a cage, their laughter ringing like bells. Sarah watched as Jake, Rosie, and little Tommy raced to a nearby pumpkin patch, the warm autumn sun setting their faces aglow. "Come on, let's go see what they're up to," Jeremy said, standing up and extending his hand to Sarah. There was something electrifying about the way he looked at her, a spark that ignited a flicker of hope within her. With a hesitant smile, she took his hand. His touch felt safe, grounding her in the moment, pulling her from the depths of doubt she had just faced. They joined the children, who were gleefully trying to pick the biggest pumpkins they could find. Sarah couldn't help but chuckle as Tommy stumbled over a pumpkin twice his size, landing face first into a bed of hay. He sat up, his cheeks flushed and bright with surprise, and burst into laughter, a sound so pure it made Sarah's heart flutter. "Look, Mommy, this one is huge," Jake shouted, lifting a pumpkin that was almost as big as he was. Genuine joy spread through the small group, and for a moment Sarah felt as if they were all cocooned in a bubble of happiness. Everything felt right. Yet the towering specter of fear loomed in the background. How long would this last? Was it fair to embrace this fleeting moment when her heart still bore the weight of past scars? "Let's get a family picture," Jeremy suggested, pulling out his phone. As he positioned everyone, Sarah felt a calm wash over her, accompanied by an unexpected warmth at the thought of capturing this moment. The kids squeezed in close, their smiles wide and infectious. "Say pumpkin," Jeremy called out, and they all shouted the word in unison, the sound mingling with the gentle rustle of the leaves around them. Sarah's smile was genuine, and she felt something shift inside her. This was her family, her joy. After snapping the photo, Jeremy slipped his phone back into his pocket and turned to her. "I know things are complicated for you right now," he began, his voice steady but gentle. "But I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." His words hung in the air, resonating deep within her. Could she truly let someone in again? Thank you, Jeremy." She struggled for the right words, feeling both grateful and overwhelmed. "It's just, I'm not sure if I deserve—" "You deserve to be happy," he interrupted softly. "We all do." The sincerity in his eyes hit her like a wave, washing away years of doubt. But the gnawing fear still sat there, whispering that happiness could only lead to heartbreak. "Let's make the most of today," he said. "One moment at a time, there's no pressure here." His reassurance settled over Sarah like a warm blanket, and she nodded slowly. They wandered through the festival, their children leading the way, the vibrant booths, the laughter of friends, and the scent of cinnamon and sugar swirled around them like a festival of shared dreams. Sarah did her best to shake off the disruptive thoughts, focusing instead on the moments shared, the festive games, the silly faces her kids made at the farm animals, and the glow of the setting sun painting everything in hues of orange and pink. But as twilight descended and the first stars pierced the darkening sky, the thought that had been lingering wouldn't leave her alone. With every laugh, every joyous moment, there was a shadow of uncertainty. "Will we still be here tomorrow?" she whispered to herself, truly wondering if embracing this joy meant facing the risk of losing it again. As the day wound down, the realization struck her hard. Moments like these made life worth living. But could she fully embrace them? Just as Jeremy grasped her hand again, promising her he was there, a cold gust of wind swept through, stirring the air and rattling the leaves. A shiver ran down her spine. Was her heart ready to embrace love? Was she prepared to step beyond the safety of her fears? As they turned to leave, a flicker of doubt coursed through her veins. Life was unpredictable. What awaited her around the corner? And then, out of the blue, the loud crack of a falling branch echoed in the distance, sending a chill down her spine. She turned to Jeremy, catching the urgency in his gaze as they both stared into the growing darkness. What lay ahead would test their ties, but would they be strong enough to withstand whatever trials awaited them? The night felt heavy with unanswered questions. The wind picked up, rustling through the leaves like a whisper of caution. Sarah felt the moment shift, just as the mood of the day had begun to settle into a comfortable, warm glow. Jeremy's hand tightened around hers, as if sensing the tension creeping back into her heart. "Hey," he said softly, a smile trying to break through. "Let's not let the darkness scare us. How about we grab some hot cider? It'll warm us right up." Nodding, Sarah forced a smile, though her insides felt like a weight pressing down on her. She watched as the children danced around them, momentarily distracted by a nearby booth ornamented with twinkling lights. But the laughter faded into the background, overshadowed by her swirling thoughts. As they approached the cider stall, the sweet, spicy scent wafted into the air. It felt nostalgic, a reminder of simpler times. It was one of those little things that grounded Sarah when everything else felt like it was spinning out of control. Jeremy ordered a round of steaming cups. When he handed one to her, his fingers brushed hers, and for a heartbeat, the world faded away. She took a sip, feeling the warmth spread through her, an instant reminder that even in the cold, there could be comfort. "Do you remember last year's fall festival?" Jeremy suddenly asked, his tone playful. "Jake won the pie-eating contest. I swear he was more pumpkin than boy by the time he was finished." Sarah laughed, the memory brightening the darkness she had imagined. "He had pumpkin everywhere. How did you manage to get it all out of the car?" Jeremy laughed with her, and for a moment the panic retreated. "I didn't, actually. I think we're still finding little bits of it hiding in the seat cushions." As they strolled through the dimly lit rows of stalls, Sarah caught sight of a nearby sign that read, "Fortune Teller." Her heart skipped a beat. Just for fun, or perhaps to tease the nervous energy bubbling within her, she turned to Jeremy. "What if we go see her?" "Are you serious?" he chuckled, raising an eyebrow. "You don't believe in that stuff, do you?" "No, of course not. But what's the harm in a little fun, right?" It felt good to joke, but as she said the words, a strange mix of curiosity and fear churned in her gut. "I'll do it if you will," he grinned, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Okay, let's do it," Sarah replied, surprising even herself. She felt an unexpected thrill. It was more than just the allure of the fortune teller. It was the idea of stepping outside her comfort zone, even if just for a moment. Hand in hand, they approached the booth. The curtain was patterned with stars, and the inside flickered with soft candlelight. The air was infused with a muted scent of incense, creating an atmosphere that felt both inviting and a little eerie. The fortune teller, an older woman with deep-set eyes, beckoned them to sit. As they settled into the small, round table, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were crossing a threshold into something that could either bring joy or upend everything she had built back up. "Are you ready to know what awaits you?" the fortune-teller inquired, her voice low and smooth. With a racing heart, Sarah exchanged a glance with Jeremy. He seemed amused, but there was a glint of curiosity in his eyes too. "Yes," Sarah answered, her voice barely above a whisper. As the woman leaned forward, cradling Sarah's hands in her own, the world outside faded. In that charged moment, it felt like everything was aligned for a revelation. But what would be revealed? Would it be the love she yearned for, or a warning to tread carefully? The uncertainty pulsed between them as the mystical atmosphere thickened, heightening the tension. And then came the question that would linger long after the evening came to a close. "Are you ready to embrace your truth?" Sarah's breath caught in her throat. What would her truth reveal about the love she was too scared to embrace? Would it show her the way forward, or simply highlight the fears tethered to her heart? The flicker of candles danced around them as she braced herself, fully aware that whatever came next could change everything. The fortune-teller's gaze bore into Sarah with an intensity that made her heart race. The air hummed with anticipation, but it was more than just the thrill of the moment. It was the weight of everything she had kept hidden, like a knot in her stomach growing tighter with each second. "Embrace your truth," the woman repeated, her voice a soft echo. "What is it that you seek?" Sarah's mind swirled with questions. She could feel Jeremy's presence beside her, steady and reassuring, but she was acutely aware of the walls she had built since everything fell apart. What did she really want? A safe harbor? A partner to share in joys and challenges? Or was it something else, something deeper that she had started to avoid? The fortune-teller shuffled a deck of worn cards, her fingers deft and practiced. As she began to lay them out, a breeze caught the edge of the tent, brushing against Sarah's face. For a moment, it was like the world outside flashed through her mind. The laughter of the children, the bright lights of the stalls, the familiar warmth of Jeremy's hand. "What if I'm not ready?" Sarah asked, her voice barely more than a whisper now, laced with doubt. "You are already here, aren't you? That means you have taken the first step, dear." The fortune-teller's voice was calm, almost soothing. Jeremy's fingers squeezed hers tighter, grounding her. Encouraged, Sarah leaned forward as the first card was revealed. It was the Empress, a card of fertility, creativity, and beauty. "It signifies love and abundance," the fortune-teller said, looking up at Sarah. "Are you afraid of what this means?" Sarah felt the sting of tears welling, not from fear, but from an unexpected openness. Could this card suggest a new beginning despite the pain of the past? The thought was intoxicating, yet paralyzing. "What if I open my heart and get hurt again?" she said, her voice thick. The woman regarded her with softness, her deep-set eyes full of understanding. "Love is not the enemy, my dear. It is what you choose to do with it that determines your path. You must be willing to take the leap." Haunted images of heartache flickered through Sarah's mind. The lonely nights, the tears shed alone, feeling like a shadow of who she used to be. Would she really expose herself to that kind of pain again? Before she could retreat into her doubts, the fortune-teller turned over another card. This time it was the Lovers. The room seemed to pulse, alive with energy. "This card speaks of union and choices. You must make a decision, Sarah. Love is available to you, but only if you can confront your fears." Caught between hope and trepidation, Sarah searched Jeremy's face. His expression was warm, inviting, and steadfast. It was a strength she desperately needed, yet somehow felt undeserving of. "And if I embrace love and it goes wrong?" She could hardly meet his gaze, afraid of the truth looming in her heart. "Then it is a lesson, not a failure." The fortune-teller spoke without hesitation. "Life is but a series of lessons, and love is the greatest of them all." As Sarah felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders, an unexpected resolve began to blossom inside her. She thought of the laughter she could still hear floating from the festival, the warmth in Jeremy's eyes, the possibility of a future full of colors waiting to be explored. "Love doesn't have to be scary," she whispered, almost as if saying it out loud would make it truer. The fortune-teller smiled knowingly, as if she could see the transformation taking place within Sarah. But before they could delve deeper into her revelations, the earth seemed to shift beneath them. Out of the corner of her eye, Sarah noticed a figure standing just outside the booth, shrouded in shadows. The atmosphere grew heavy with a sense of foreboding. As Sarah turned to face the newcomer, Jeremy recoiled slightly, his voice low. "Who is that?" The tension surged again, chilling the warmth of discovery. Everything she had started to feel slipped into a thick blanket of uncertainty. What kind of truth lay ahead, and would it take Sarah to dark places once more? With her heart pounding, she couldn't help but wonder if the real revelation was just about to begin. Sarah held her breath, every instinct screaming at her to retreat. The figure in the shadows stirred, their posture tense, as if caught between stepping forward or fading away. A flicker of recognition ignited in Sarah's chest, yet fear laced her curiosity. "Who is it?" she repeated, her voice steady despite the uncertainty. Jeremy shifted beside her, protective and alert. The woman in the shadows took a tentative step closer, the dim light revealing a familiar face. Lisa, an old friend from Sarah's past. But the look in her eyes was not the warmth Sarah remembered. There was something darker there, a storm brewing beneath the surface. "I didn't expect to find you here," Lisa said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I thought you were done with all this." Sarah's heart sank. In one short sentence, Lisa provoked a flood of memories, old wounds surfacing like the tide. The secrets that had woven their friendship together now felt like chains binding them apart. "I came to find clarity," Sarah said quietly, but her voice rang out like a bell against the tension hanging in the air. "Clarity, or just a distraction from your reality?" Lisa's words cut deep. Each syllable dripped with judgment, and Sarah felt every lash of it. "Stop," Jeremy said firmly, stepping slightly in front of Sarah. "She's done so much to heal. You don't have to." But Sarah, fueled by unexpected courage, lifted her chin. "No, Jeremy, I need to hear this. Do you really think you can just dive into a new life without understanding what hurt you before?" Lisa continued, her voice tinged with bitterness. "You're still running from the truth, Sarah." Her words stung, but Sarah could feel something shifting within her. Maybe Lisa was right, in a twisted sense. But could the truth her friend was offering lead her back to the shadows she had been so desperate to escape? Her heart raced not in fear but in resolve. "Running?" Sarah challenged. "I'm facing it. That's why I'm here." The fortune-teller watched silently, a knowing gleam in her eyes. "Then prove it," Lisa said harshly, arms crossed. "Open up about what happened. You can't just move on without recognizing the past." A chill swept through the tent. Sarah took a deep breath. "Do you want to know what hurt me?" Sarah's voice was strong now. "I lost myself believing I deserved the hurt. I let fear and doubt tell me I wasn't worthy of happiness. But I want to change that." As her words hung in the air, she noticed Jeremy's unwavering gaze, full of support. He believed in her, and that glimmer of faith pushed her further. Silence surrounded them, thick with emotion. For a fleeting moment, Sarah caught a glimpse of the daring, passionate woman she had buried beneath layers of fear. Lisa's expression began to soften, the walls she had built cracking under the weight of Sarah's courage. "Maybe I didn't mean to hurt you," she admitted, voice trembling. "Maybe," Sarah echoed, realizing the power of forgiveness. "But it's time to let it go." Just then, the tent flaps rustled again. A sudden gust of wind swept through, carrying the laughter of festival-goers back to their ears, ringing with life and promise. Amid the flutter of the flaps, the fortune-teller leaned closer, her voice low and intense. "You are beginning to see now, aren't you? The choice has always been yours to make. How will you choose to forge your path forward?" Excitement surged within Sarah, lightning fast. She had taken the first leap, but what came next? Embers of possibility flickered in her heart. Before she could respond, Jeremy stepped closer, taking her hand in a firm grip. "Whatever the future holds, I'm with you." But just as a sense of peace began to settle, an unsettling shiver danced along Sarah's spine at the reminder of the figure outside. There was more at stake than she had anticipated. Could confronting her past empower her to embrace the future? Or would the shadows of doubt drag her back into a darkness she could scarcely endure? With renewed strength, she turned to Lisa. "Are you ready to heal too?" A flicker of uncertainty crossed Lisa's face, mirroring the doubt Sarah once held. But this time, for Sarah, the struggle felt overflowing with hope. Yet in the depths of their eyes, something unresolved still lingered. Would confronting their shared history bring closure, or just open old wounds wider? As the night deepened around them, the festival lights shone bright, demanding their attention, leaving Sarah wondering if the clarity she sought was just beginning. Would this confrontation forge stronger bonds, or would the truth unravel what they had fought to hold together? Sarah's heartbeat quickened as she felt the weight of Lisa's gaze. The tension in the air crackled like static electricity, and she found herself holding on to Jeremy's hand tighter. A small act, but one that reminded her she wasn't alone in this. "Can we just take a step back?" Lisa finally said, clearly grappling with her emotions. "We don't have to do this tonight." "No," Sarah insisted, her voice steady with intention. "I need to understand this. To heal, I need to know what really happened." She could see Lisa's defenses start to waver, the anger falling away, revealing a vulnerability that was raw and real. Jeremy shifted, his posture relaxing slightly. "We're not here to fight, just to talk," he reassured, glancing between the two women. "We want to move forward." With a deep breath, Sarah turned back to Lisa. "You hurt me, Lisa. But I want to know what led you to say those things back then. What made you push me away when I needed you most?" Lisa's eyes glistened with unshed tears, and Sarah's heart softened. "I was scared, okay? I didn't know how to handle your pain. You were drowning, and I didn't know how to throw you a lifeline without getting pulled under myself." A light flickered in Sarah's mind, a reflection of their past friendship. It was bursting with laughter and late-night talks, but intertwined with moments of darkness too. In that memory, she saw herself splintering, relying on someone who was equally lost. Jeremy squeezed her hand again, and Sarah felt the warmth of his support. "It's okay to admit fear," he said gently, his voice grounding. "We've all been afraid at some point." As waves of understanding washed over Sarah, her voice softened. "Fear has a way of changing our choices, but it doesn't define us. It can lead us to our own healing." Lisa nodded slowly, the storm in her eyes beginning to calm. "Seeing you here, having come this far, it makes me realize I've held on to my own scars for too long. What if we could let them go?" Sarah asked, her own heart racing with hope. "What if we could help each other heal?" Suddenly, Lisa took a step forward, vulnerability flooding her expression. "I'd like that, but it's complicated. I still feel angry, Sarah. I can't pretend that isn't part of this." "I don't want you to," Sarah assured her. "Anger is valid, but letting it control us, that's the danger. What if we faced our anger together, found a way through?" A flicker of shock crossed Lisa's face, almost as if she couldn't believe the words being exchanged. "Together? Can we really do that, after everything?" "Yes," Sarah replied, feeling the truth resonate within her. "Together, we can redefine this friendship. Disappointment doesn't have to equal the end." In that moment, the air shifted. The tension began to dissolve, replaced by an air of possibility. Sarah could feel the festival's rhythm around them, a reminder that life continued, vibrant and waiting to be embraced. Just then, the fortune-teller stepped closer, her voice a whisper as she caught the heartbeat of their conversation. "What you choose tonight can shape not only your journey, but those around you. The threads of your lives are interconnected." Sarah turned back to Lisa, her heart full of newfound resolve. "Let's confront our fears. Let's break these chains." Something stirred inside her, a promise for not just herself but for Lisa too. But then, out of the corner of her eye, Sarah spotted movement in the shadows at the edge of the tent. Her heart raced again, not with fear, but with a sense of urgency. "What's happening outside? Do you see that?" At that moment the flaps flew open, revealing a chaotic scene that neither of them expected. Would this new threat force Sarah and Lisa to confront their past before they could truly face the future together? The stakes felt higher than ever, and Sarah realized they hadn't just stepped into healing. They had waded into a storm ripe with uncertainty. The night was alive with a whirlwind of energy, and as the flaps of the fortune-teller's booth swung wide, chaos spilled in like a dark tide. Outside, the festival was ablaze with commotion. People gasped and pointed, the laughter now replaced by murmurs of confusion and concern. Just then, a figure darted past the booth, clutching something shiny that glimmered under the festival lights. "What's going on?" Jeremy asked, stepping toward the flaps, urgency in his voice. I don't know." Sarah's heart raced. She turned back to Lisa, her past friend now standing just as perplexed. "Maybe we should see what's happening." "Wait!" Lisa exclaimed, her brows knitting together. "What if it's dangerous?" "Whatever it is, we can't just sit here," Sarah said, her determination growing. "We have to face it together like we talked about." As they stepped outside, the cool night air hit them, filled with an electric tension. They squeezed through the gathering crowd, Sarah's heart pounding louder with every second. What awaited them felt both daunting and invigorating, the very essence of facing fears anew. The chaos centered around the festival's main square, where a small group of people had formed a circle. Peering through the throng, Sarah saw a young boy waving his arms, distressed. His shouts rang out, "He grabbed my bag! I saw him!" "Who?" a voice called from the crowd. A buzz of concern rippled through, and in the center of the disturbance a man stood, sullen and guarded, clutching a backpack. At that moment it felt as if everyone had momentarily forgotten the festival, the laughter and the warmth. All eyes were fixed on this unfolding scene. "Is that the thief?" Jeremy said under his breath, eyes scanning the crowd for help. "Why are we just standing here?" Sarah asked anxiously. "We can't just let this happen." Without thinking, she took a step forward, feeling the weight of her choices urging her on. She had just faced Lisa. She wouldn't let fear stop her from confronting the unknown. "You! Give that back!" Sarah projected her voice, surprising herself with the strength behind it. People turned, murmurs swirled among the onlookers, some showing glimmers of support, while others recoiled in fear. What are you doing?" Lisa looked at Sarah, her eyes wide. "I'm not letting him take what isn't his. Not now, not ever." "We've been running for too long," Sarah declared. Drawing on an unexpected courage, she inched closer, her heart racing, although this was different, truly. This felt alive. The man, visibly rattled by the attention, shifted uneasily. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I was just borrowing it." "Well, you don't borrow without permission." Jeremy stepped forward as well. "Give it back. You can't just take from others." A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd, emboldening Sarah even more. Encouraged by Jeremy, she pressed on. "We're all here to celebrate life together. You're stealing that joy from us." The man's defenses faltered, his posture softening, eyes darting downward. Okay. Slowly, he released the backpack, and it tumbled to the ground, a sound that echoed louder than a shot fired in the calm night. A collective sigh swept through. Sarah could feel the tide change. The moment felt monumental, not just for the crowd, but for herself. She had taken a stand, faced a fear, and the universe had reacted positively. She glanced back at Lisa, who looked slightly dumbfounded yet contemplative. "That took courage, Sarah." Her voice almost whispered. "Maybe we both have more strength than we realized." Before she could respond, light laughter broke through the air. Jake and Rosie had pushed their way toward her, eyes wide with excitement. "Did you see, Mom? You were amazing!" Jake exclaimed, his face alight with admiration. Sarah knelt in front of them, her heart swelling with pride. "I couldn't have done it without you guys," she admitted, her voice thick with emotion. Being surrounded by her children's warmth shifted the air around her. For the first time in what felt like forever, she was reminded of the joy in unity, how standing up, no matter how daunting, could change everything. "Hey," Jeremy said, stepping beside her and placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You helped them see. We can all face our fears together." The festival slowly resumed its jubilant revelry, laughter echoing once more like winding ribbons through the crowd. Sarah felt a powerful connection surge within her, the realization that joy could thrive even amid uncertainty. "I wanted to thank you," Lisa said, the barriers between them blurring, "for showing me it's okay to lean on others." With fireworks lighting up the night sky, illuminating their faces in vibrant colors, Sarah took a deep breath. "We all deserve to celebrate, don't we? And maybe share our journeys." "Exactly," Jeremy said, smiling at Sarah as the fireworks burst above, a dazzling display of light. "Your past shaped you, but it doesn't have to define you." In that shimmering moment, Sarah understood that true freedom arose not from fleeing her past, but embracing it, forging a path leading to freshly lit horizons. She felt ready. Together, hand in hand with laughter around them, they turned back toward the heart of the festival, welcoming the future and whatever promise it held. As the last of the fireworks faded into the starry night, Sarah whispered softly to Jeremy, "Together, always." And somewhere between love, hope, and friendship, a beautiful transformation blossomed, ready to face whatever came next. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment down below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.